steaming bowl of Thai chicken noodle soup. This one, my friends, is truly joyous, and there are a lot of little steps to perfecting this at home, but I'm going to walk you through it. We'll get there together. This is my street food style Thai chicken noodle soup. Alright, so getting the ultimate perfect bowl of Thai chicken noodle soup does require a little bit of a journey, guys. It's not difficult, but there are quite a few little steps here, but we are going to walk through it together, and can I say that the results are truly worth the time. Alright, let's get going on making our broth first of all, and this is where we're really going to get a little technical to get the most clear, beautiful, pure chicken broth at the end. So we want to start off with a whole chicken, and what I want to do here is break down the chicken first of all. So we're going to start with the legs. Now, you don't need a massive cleaver like I've got here actually. You can just use a regular knife. We're going to just gently cut through everything, but you know, I don't know, big cleavers are always fun. So what we do is just open it up, kind of just separate that leg bone, and you just want to kind of pop it. And then you can just get your knife and literally just slide straight through where you've popped that joint. Turn the chicken over. And there is our first little leg. Pop that guy onto a plate. Okay, now the wings. Now always I find when you're breaking down the chicken, it's a combination of slicing and popping or cracking. So just cracked that joint out and then slice through. I've got some other wings here as well, so I'm going to add that wing to those. And now we're left here with our breast meat on the bone, and we want to take that breast meat off nicely. We want to do it nicely. So just slice through the center, just off center actually, off that middle bone. And the way I like to do this is you just kind of like slice as close to the bone as possible. And just by thinking about slicing close to the bone, we're sort of getting really nice and tight, getting all of that meat off. Okay, and that is one very neat piece of chicken breast there. So these pieces of chicken, we're going to deal with those a little bit later on so they can go away into the fridge. Now it's really this chicken carcass that I'm after for this first part of the recipe. So this guy goes straight into my stock pot, and then just to add a bit more flavor and gelatin from some bones and also some meatiness, I'm going to use some wings. I don't like to use the meat, as in the breast and the legs, for the stock itself, because we are going to boil the living daylights out of these bones, and the meat itself, all that flavor should come out and into the liquid. So what's left is not going to have that much flavor. I don't want to waste my chicken breast and chicken legs. So there is method to the madness, everyone. There's stuff in the wings, it's got to go out into the liquid. So chop it up. Chop each wing into some smaller pieces here. That's going to allow a lot more of the flavor and all that stuff that's like in there close to the bone, all that's going to come out into your broth, which is what you want. Okay, now get these wings into your stock pot as well. Now pour in enough water to cover up that chicken. Okay, so now we're going to do a bit of like a false start, if you like, for our broth. I want to bring this up to a simmer so I can get a lot of the kind of first bits of gunkiness out of the chicken, if you know what I mean. The stuff that comes up to the top, I want all of that out, and then I'm going to skim it off and get rid of that water, and we're going to start again. This is one of the little technical points that's going to give us a really clear, clean broth at the end. I promise. Stick with me. Okay, so there's all the gunky stuff that I was talking about. Now I want to get my chicken pieces out of that. And now I want to rinse this chicken off because I really want to make sure I don't have any of those bits and pieces that are stuck to the outside. And I also need to clean that pot up and throw away that liquid. Okay, and so here we go again. Chicken in the pot. And now top this up with some water, and this is going to be our broth starter. So I want about 5 litres I'm doing today. Now, if you've got a really huge stock pot, it would be great to double the quantities and do an even bigger batch, because you know, if you're going to go the trouble of doing all these steps, you may as well have lots of backup broth that you can put in the freezer for later. Now bring this up to a really gentle simmer, and I want to leave that to slowly bubble away for 2 hours. That's right, 2 hours, so it sounds like a long time, but really, I mean, you can watch, you know, a movie on Netflix or something. It's not going to be too much of a hardship. But what I don't want is a hard boil, because a hard boil is going to make our stock cloudy and also going to release more of that kind of scummy stuff that we don't want. Now, while it is going, I want you to come back and check every so often and just use a ladle to kind of skim off any of those little bits that come up to the surface. Okay, so my broth is just about done, which gives me some time to fix up a few other little bits and pieces. First of all, we want to make our condiments for the end. And for me, a Thai noodle soup has got to have the condiments. It's like truly make or break. One of the essentials is garlic oil. So I'm going to take myself a fair load of garlic here, and I'm going to chop this with the skins on, because the skins get really nice and crispy in that garlic oil. I don't want all the skin, but just start chopping first. And you'll see any sort of large chunks of skin, I just kind of take those out. Now I want some vegetable oil here. Just any neutral tasting oil is fine. Rice bran oil, peanut oil is good too. And now just add in all of that garlic. And now you really want to keep an eye on things here, guys. Don't walk off and leave this to its own devices. Garlic will burn in like a second the minute you turn away. So I'm just waiting for it to sizzle here. Try to keep it moving every so often. And then once that's just tinged golden, and I mean just tinged, just like this, take it off, because it will continue cooking in the bowl. And there you go, that garlic will darken up and get really nice and crispy as it sits there. Now the other essential condiment, chili vinegar. So any kind of mild chili. I'm not after a lot of spice here. This is more about a bit of tang, a bit of color, and just some plain old white distilled vinegar. All right, your 2 essential Thai noodle soup condiments done. Now the other thing I want to do here is make a few little extra special bits and pieces that are really going to make our broth like super amazing. The first thing is a garlic, coriander, pepper paste. So I need some garlic for that first of all, and I just want to pop those cloves so I can take the skin off. Now you will see this paste in a lot of my Thai cooking, a lot of my mum's Thai cooking, in fact anyone's Thai cooking generally. It's called samgler. That's right, isn't it? Yes. Just had to check. My Thai isn't exactly fluent and sometimes I pronounce things wrong, and you guys love to tell me about that. But anyway, samgler is the name of this very ancient kind of paste. It's the basis of lots of curry paste. We put it into stir fries, we put it into like all sorts of things. It's like the European sofrito. It's a base kind of flavor paste. There you go, some information there that you might find useful or not. So I want some black peppercorns in here as well, and some coriander root. Now I know a lot of you guys have had trouble finding coriander bunches with the root on the end, because you're telling me that your local supermarket just chops them off, which is such a tragedy, my goodness. Anyway, if you can't get one with the roots, just use some of that stem part. Now just pound that to a rough paste. Okay, so this is the situation that you're after, really rough. Now the other thing I want here is some lemongrass, just 1 stalk, and I purposely don't want to pound that because I don't want to make a really heavy lemongrass flavor in our broth. I just want it to be like a really beautiful background high note that kind of intrigues you as you eat the broth. Now I also want another aromatic, some ginger, and some spring onion. Now an interesting one here is Chinese celery. So if you have a look, it's kind of looks like a baby celery, if you like. A lot thinner stalks, and the flavor is a lot milder. So if you were to use some regular celery for this, please just use like maybe a piece of stalk that big, really small amount, because I don't want the celery flavour taking over, and this one is very mild. So just a couple of pieces. Now, finally, we can come back to our beautiful little broth, and the smell of chicken broth simmering on my stovetop always makes my household so happy, makes me happy. Now, I have been skimming this off, and you can see we've got a nice sort of base here, and I'm going to add in all of those aromatics. So in goes our pile here, and now our garlic, coriander, pepper paste. Now just let all of those flavors make friends for another 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back. Don't go away, come back.
Smell good.
Okay, so now we're going to actually cook some chicken to put into our noodle soup, and I'm going to use the breast here. I'm going to save these legs for something else, like for some roasting or another dish, because I don't really need all of that chicken meat. All right, now those chicken breasts need 10 minutes tops. I like to keep my chicken really nice and juicy. Any longer than that and they dry out. All right, let's fish our chicken out of there. Now let's pop those aside. We will work on those later. Now just give this one final skimming here. And I like to take out the chicken bits as much as possible. First of all, makes straining a lot easier. Now we can strain out our soup. And what we need to do here is a final seasoning adjustment. We've added no salt into here so far, so let me just have a taste and see where we're at. That is such a good chicken broth. And just that little pop of those extra little flavors at the end really makes such a big difference. Beautiful. Now, I do want some fish sauce here and a little dash of sugar. Look, so if you were eating this at a street stall in Thailand, you would have some sugar there on the side that people kind of tip in as much as they like. I like to add it in here so that everyone's getting that little balance of the sweetness and the saltiness. And then I also want some salt as well. Okay, now let's see. That is perfect to my taste. You can add a little bit more salt if you would like. I like to serve fish sauce at the table so that everyone can season their own bowl perfectly to their own taste. So I purposely leave this a little under-seasoned. Now let's give our chicken a little bit of attention here, and this is my little trick, I guess, for instead of standing there like, you know, stringing the chicken apart, I just get my pestle or a rolling pin and just give it a good little bash. See how that kind of breaks apart the pieces here? And then I can just slice and chop. And now a few more bits and pieces for the end. I keep saying bits and pieces. There are a lot of bits and pieces in this recipe, but it's all worth it, I promise. Okay, first of all, I want some coriander, some spring onion, and Chinese celery. Again, you could just use regular celery, but just not very much of it. Now for the noodles, I'm going classic street food style here, and I'm using some semi-dried rice noodles. This is what we would call here in Thailand sen lek if you were ordering these from the street cart lady. Now I just want a little bit of that into my little spider here. But you could choose your own adventure when it comes to noodles here, guys. You could choose an egg noodle, you could do a thicker rice noodle, totally up to you. And I want some bean shoots as well. I like to blanch the bean shoots in the water. I feel like they need a little bit of a taming down of their flavor. I don't want them to take over. All right, so into some boiling water. And because of these noodles, they're almost fresh, so they literally take like seconds. And get them straight into my bowl. And now finally, we're at the assembly stage. So let's make our perfect bowl. Okay, a little bit of chicken first of all. And all of our little greens. And that beautiful, beautiful broth that we have labored lovingly over. Just look at that color. I mean, look at how clear it is. Yum. That is just perfection already. Doesn't that already look glorious? But now we have all of our little extra bits and pieces. So I want some garlic oil and some garlic, crispy garlic bits, some chilies and some of that chili vinegar. And always you would season with a little bit of fish sauce here. And then not always, but for me always, a little extra sprinkling of some dried chili powder. Oh, wow, and there you go. Oh, that even just, I can smell that vinegar and the chili and the garlic really getting in there and making friends with the rest of my broth here. Such a truly joyous smell. Yum. Okay, you want to mix everything together. And then let's see how we've gone. It looks deceptively simple when you're just looking at the bowl, but when you taste that broth mixed with all those little extra condiments that we've made and the herbs and everything, it's just like a beautiful little symphony. Yum.